Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Just Seen podcast, specifically So Frail Conversations. And more than that, welcome to season 8 finale. And as you're seeing from the title, we're going to be talking about Noirephobia. Noirephobia is a term that I've created and I've coined to describe exactly what the hell I'm about to talk about for the next hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. So sit tight and buckle up. If you've read So Frail 3, So Frail 3 ended on Noirephobia, just as season 8 is about to end on Noirephobia. The difference is, with So Frail 3, I went in is very, very deep with Noirephobia and what it really meant. Here, I'm not going to go as deep as I went with So Frail 3, but I am going to make a slight lateral movement, and I'm going to be going in still regarding, Noirephobia, but, it's going to be a lot more expansive and things of that nature, because I feel like this is a perfect way to end this season, because seasons 9 through 12, I'm only doing 4 more. At this particular moment of thought, I'm only doing 4 more. I can't really say if it's an intention that's set or if it's really, the ordinance that this is done. I don't have anything else to say after these 4 seasons that will be coming. And as you know, every season has about 14 episodes per side of the podcast. So that's about 28 episodes, right? So you still got some more time with me. Don't get me wrong. You still got some more time with me as far as the podcast goes. Uh, but understand, when it's done, you'll know when it's done. You feel me? But season 12 will be, at this particular moment of my life, season 12 will be the last episode, the last season. So I want to end season 8 because I told you, season 8, I was different. I was coming back different. And if you, from 1 to 7, you can tell. So this is a perfect way to end season 8 because seasons 9 through 12 will be different. They will be, quote unquote, full mask off. I've held back a lot of information. I've held back a lot of content. I've held back a lot of thoughts. I've held back a lot of things for the sake of the fact that 2 important points were not made yet within the podcast for me to transition on into the things that I really, really need to talk about, the things that I was really creating this podcast to talk about. Okay. First point was episode 200. Episode 200 happened for a reason, right? I had to talk about that first. Now, this episode is happening for a reason, because now it opens the portal for whatever comes out from 9 to 12. You will understand. You will be so wrapped up in the information that you will understand why the information is being spoken. One thing that I've learned within life, and what I'm talking about, this intro that I'm talking about, it ties into this episode. So don't think that I'm just rambling, right? But one thing that I've learned about life and the experience of, delivering messages and things like that is, like, you just can't deliver the message. You have to warm people up because you have to understand where they are. Everything that I've done so far is strategic, giving you the 12 laws of the universe, giving you the chakras, giving you melanin, giving you the 4 levels of the mind, giving you the 3 modalities of the mind, um, breaking down the elements and, sounds and all of that other good stuff. Um, Everything is going to be needed, even with the last week's episode, um, where the last episode where I was breaking down the intelligences. All of this is needed. This episode right here is pretty much the maraschino cherry, and I love how I'm going to go out on this one, because from 9 to 12, there will be nothing that you can't understand or you will not have the capacity to understand that I talk about. Not, I don't know, like I'm going so far left or no shit like that, but you're going to finally see how deep I can go. You're going to finally see how deep this reality is, and it's going to tie into everything that I've been speaking on for the last, I want to say 8 years, because it is 8 seasons, but y'all know it ain't been no motherfucking 8 years. It's only been 5 years. since I think my podcast officially started in 2017 on YouTube. So I have videos that, carried over to all here, and then now we continuing to here. And so this is a full circle moment. And so when we talk about noirephobia, right? Noirephobia, okay, phobia is fear, noir is black, right? But if you've read So Frail III, you already know what it is, but I'm going to break it down for you. Noirephobia is the fear of a black messiah, okay? And I know this is going to seem, in the intro, you're going to be like, Scene, you did all of that talking about religion and how this, and now you talking about messiahs at the end. What's going on? You about to see what's going on. But before we dive heavy into it, be sure to follow me on Instagram at _scene_. Be sure to check out my website at IamJustScene.com to get all things that are just seen. To all those who tip, donate, and sponsor to the podcast, you are greatly appreciated. To all those who would like to tip, donate, and sponsor to the podcast, you can do so by clicking the link in the description of your podcast. Not this episode, but the podcast itself. And as always, Cash App and PayPal are just fine. And you know the vibes. That's that for this and that's this for that. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to dive into So Frail conversations, noirephobia. And don't forget to visit IamJustScene.com. There, you can get all things Just Seen. You want to add the So Frail series to your library? Visit IamJustScene.com. You want to learn how to master the markets for serious trading and investing? Visit IamJustScene.com. You want to get your hands on some exclusive merch like tees, hoodies, coffee mugs, hats, bags? Visit IamJustScene.com. Are you thinking about transitioning into the plant-based lifestyle? Visit IamJustScene.com. You ever want to just chat with Scene about anything from simple advice to mentorship? Visit IamJustScene.com. Anything and everything that is me, you can find at IamJustScene.com. So take a quick peek into my world to see why being just seen is nothing less but always more. Because you never really know what you need until you see it, and you will never see it unless you visit IamJustScene.com. All right. Welcome back. And without further ado, we're going to pick back up and finish off where we started from. So, noirephobia is the fear of the black messiah. And if you're familiar with the motherfucker J. Edgar Hoover, right? He was a FBI head or some shit like that. And he's responsible for the COINTEL program. He's responsible for the COINTEL program. He's responsible for the whole concept and idea that they got to shut black people down. And the reality was that, in his words, they fear the rise of a black messiah who will spark the I'm paraphrasing. I got the exact words in the book, but they fear the rise of a black messiah who will spark the nationalist movement, the black nationalist movement, right? And the reality with that is that one thing that, in him saying it, making it public knowledge, it's a tricky thing, because when you hear it, you're like, yo, they're talking about a black messiah. And one thing I've learned about those people is that they have a strategy with everything they do, everything they say, and the things that they expose. See, I'm gonna teach you something real quick before I get back to this. When you know your enemy, you know yourself. Because when you know why your enemy is your enemy and they hate you, you know why you need to love yourself. Okay? Your enemies move a certain way. Our enemies move a certain way. And when they move, they're very strategic in the way that they move, right? So here's why I'm saying that. J. Edgar Hoover, with him saying that information about the fear of the black messiah, if they really feared the rise of a black messiah, would it be public knowledge? I want you to sit with that. The information they don't want you to know, you do not know. The information they want you to know is what you know, okay? Reason why I'm saying that, because this is going to tie into everything that I'm saying. They've already created the concept of what a messiah is for you. So what they say is that we fear the rise. When he says we create COINTELPRO to create the stop the fear of the rise of a black Messiah. My bad, y'all. Oh, that stretching on. Like I literally, I just tapped in. So, like when I say tapped in, I just woke up. So I'm still in that lingering space to record this podcast. And I didn't stretch yet. I really just hopped to it. So they fear the rise of a black Messiah, right? So they allow this information to be revealed, right? Documented. So when you hear it, you think, it coincides with the lie that, the Messiah is your savior. Um, Therefore, when you look at that, it's like, okay, it's one of two people. Either it's going to be Muhammad or it's going to be Jesus. Now, the fact that it's not going to be Muhammad is because Muhammad never dictated in any of his texts or any of the texts listed in the Quran or whatever that he's coming back. Like there's no person coming back according to the Quran. You feel me? It's just gonna be the end happens. However, biblically, they say Jesus is coming back, but you already know about Jesus at this point. The letter J didn't exist till the 1500s, so his name would have had to be Yeshua. Yeshua is, whatever. But here's where the research and the studies come in differently, because for them to leak or provide that information that we fear the rise of a black Messiah, it shows two things. One, information is being kept from everybody, especially them. You feel me? It's like we put you on a need to know basis so you can utter certain things, but you can't utter too much. Don't utter too much, because if you utter too much, then you're going to tell the truth. We're going to give you a little bit of the truth to make the lie stick better. Right? So when we understand what a Messiah is, we're going to break that down. But So Frail III does a better job. But I'm going to, surfacely break it down here because there's a lot of information that I'm going to be pulling out right now as I'm giving to you. So it has the fear of the black Messiah, right? When black people hear that, they have already been told, what the Messiah is. So they think Jesus is coming back. Right now, people think we're in the end times, of the last days of the last days. Right? They literally think, okay, the rapture's about to happen. Nigga, shit about to hit the fan. And I'm going to keep it 100 with you. This is going to sound so fucked up, but it is the truth. If, in fact, let's hope, I'm going to say this first before I say that. Let's hope that I'm right about everything that I've said. Everything that I said about the religion not being real, about it being an allegory, about none of this shit being real. Because if this shit is real, bars, Israel, if this shit is real and all of that prophecy happened, anybody who got vaccinated took the mark of the beast. Anybody who has taken the vaccination has taken the mark of the beast. So let's hope for your sake, if you're one of those people who have been vaccinated, that I am right and this is not real. Because if it's not real, then that means the vaccination is not the mark of the beast. But if it is, you're not going where you think you're going, and the fight ain't for you. Okay. The fight ain't for you. All right. So we're going to break down a little bit more as we go into it. So the vaccination. First, let me finish off with Noirephobia. So the fear of the black Messiah is what J. Edgar Hoover, worried about. And so, as we've seen, if you study the history, you know that there were multiple messiahs, right? Jesus wasn't the Messiah. He was a Messiah. If he was real, I know y'all say, oh, we're seeing. You said he wasn't real. I know, I'm standing on that. He's not real. But I have to use the context for you to understand exactly what I'm talking about. You feel what I'm saying? Because when you go back and study, he was a Messiah. So when you hear me, it seems like I'm joking. It seems like I'm being rude, and it seems like I'm being disrespectful, but I'm not. I always tell people I'm not an atheist. I'm an omniist. Okay? It's different, right? So when you hear me say God, Allah, Jehovah, Jesus, Krishna, Buddha, Yeshua, all of them, I'm speaking in terms of Christ consciousness, Mashiach consciousness, Messiah consciousness. Doesn't matter which religion that you use, they all have a depiction of Mashiach energy, Messiah energy. Okay? So when you look at Jesus, and like there's other messiahs before him, because a Messiah is an anointed being. when you study the history, so this is why you have to study the religion in a certain capacity, because you have to go back 3 languages and go through several languages to get it. So imagine you speak English. English is the final Latin language. So prior to English, you have to get the more sophisticated Latin languages such as Spanish and French. They're a lot more sophisticated and closer to origination than our English is. English is completely fucked up. And it's designed that way for a reason. If you can, you the English language is so fucking crazy and so fucked up that you don't even know how to register it. This is why I broke down the language part in the last episode, the language intelligence. But English language is so fucked up that you have to understand the culture in order to understand how to speak it. Because you can spell rough, tough, and trough all different, but they have the same ending, right? And then GH has a F sound. How in the fuck do you see? They purposely manipulate it like that. So when you start with English and you go backwards a little bit to French and Spanish, then you have to go back to the Latin. From the Latin, you have to go over to Greek because it had the Greco-Roman era. You go from Latin to over to Greek. Then from Greek, you go over to Hebrew. Hebrew or Aramaic, then Hebrew. But whatever. Either way, you're going to end up at Hebrew. So you have to start over. You're going back from English. Start with English. You're going back to Spanish, French, or French, Spanish, however you decide to go. Right? Then you go to Latin. Then you go to Greek. Then you go to Hebrew. That's 6 languages total. It's 5 you have to go back, but that's 6 languages from what was originally spoken to what we understand now. And that span is across 2,000 years. Within this 2,000 years, you also have to count in the 100,000 year quote unquote dark ages. That dark ages wasn't for the world, it was for Caucasian people, and it was for a time when they were setting up the lie that was developed from the Council of Nicaea. The Council of Nicaea was to put the entire world under the tutelage or the unification of the Christian religion. More than that, the Abrahamic religion. This is why if you've done some recent research, you see that there's a new religion coming out. It's already out. They just codified it. It's called Chrislam. They merged Christianity and Islam. How are you able to merge Christianity and Islam if they are not one and the same? You know, when you have characters such as Abraham in the Bible, but Ibrahim in the Quran. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. We gotta be a lot more intelligent than this. This is one of the reasons why I've been telling you for years that masculinity is not in the world. It's not the rise of femininity is not what's coming up, because the rise of femininity through the rise of femininity through the male lens creates toxic femininity. That's why the world is what it is. That's why you have motherfuckers literally delusionally saying trans women are real women. But then in the same breath, something kicks in, because when you see a man deal with a trans woman, you'll call him gay. It can't be both. It cannot be both, right? But with that, I'm going to say this and I'm going to keep going because I did mention this earlier. With that, when we look at the COVID, this is why I say you better hope the mark of the beast isn't real. Because if it is COVID shot, the vaccine is the mark of the beast. You feel me? It is the mark of the beast, and you had to get it 3 times. Come on, read the shit, bro. The boosters had to be 3 times, right? So you get the mark of the beast or whatever the case may be. There's an enzyme. If you do some study on what is called homoborgenesis, anybody who got a vaccination is not human anymore. They're not human anymore. You're a new species, an entirely new species. That mRNA technology rewrote your DNA and created a whole new species. Okay. Another enzyme that is within the homoborgenesis, it's a couple other things that are in there too. Like one thing, they actually put HIV in it. So if you got the 3 booster shots, your immune system is completely dead, right? Another point, there's an enzyme in it. I'm gonna have to go back and get the exact name because I don't know the exact name of it because it's pretty long. But this enzyme eats away at the frontal lobe of your brain. Understand what the capacity of the frontal lobe is. It fucks with your cognitive abilities. It's deteriorating your cognitive abilities on a bigger scale, right? Some of you know anybody who's been vaccinated. If you've been vaccinated yourself, pay attention to your memory. Pay attention to your perception of reality. Seems like you're losing your shit. I'm watching vaccinated people right now go through mental points where they're like, yo, I know I did this. I thought I remember this. Like, and then they're realizing their frontal lobe is deteriorating. it's painful to watch. It's painful as hell to watch because a lot of this is my family that I'm looking at vividly like, wow, you don't even see what's happening. And like I said, ironically, they're very religious people. So it's like, mark of the beast. Okay. But anywho, when we're looking at the entire Masya energy, because that's what Noirephobia is about, right? The fear is that the black person reignites the energy that liberates the people, right? When we look at what's being pushed as far as conversations go on the internet, it's just division, you know. Um, Nobody's able to talk about what's really needs to be talked about because they don't even know what needs to be talked about because belief is a hell of a drug, right? But all in all, this is a painful episode. I'm not even gonna lie, but all in all, watching how they set up to understand, okay, during those 1,000-year dark ages, they decided that they were going to use that time to solidify the lie, right? All the other cultures of the world continued. All the other cultures of the world continued during that 1,000-year quote unquote dark ages. Only Europe was in the dark, nobody else. Because in the same token, because you got to really think about it when you understand the history, how can there be a dark ages when the Moors taught the Europeans in 711 AD? That means somebody was thriving and functioning. That's why they only focus on Europe. They don't want you to know. They it's like they think it's a mass blackout. No, because in the time from the Council of Nicaea, once they got together with William Shakespeare and the other great writers and poets at the time, they put the Bible together. I personally feel like they put the Quran together too because they had to. They need an antithesis to it so you can make a choice. But overall, they broke down the religions, but specifically the Bible. They created the concept of Jesus. They created all of these things. Because you got to think about it. The Council of Nicaea they had that meeting as like, I think about a year or two after quote unquote Jesus would have died, right? Whatever. But they used that 1,000 years to get their shit straight. So when they came back, the dark ages they used to solidify an entire reality that catered to Caucasians and European people. And this is when the colonization had to begin happening. Colonization wasn't just about going over to conquering. It was over spreading a word and indoctrination. Okay. I mentioned before to read the book Battle for the Mind or The Battlefield for the Mind, or one of the two. Is something like it's a green book by William Sargent, right? And I said the only way that you can change somebody's reality is to traumatize them. You traumatize them, you can give them whatever thought process you want them to have. Fast forward to today. This is why COVID, the pandemic did what it did. They reprogrammed you. They reprogrammed the world. They traumatized the world, isolated the world, and they traumatized them and put them in a state of fear. And they gave them all of the information they wanted to have. Your mind has now been changed. Your unconscious mind has now been programmed, and you're different mentally. If you did not succumb to the shit, right? If you're constantly being bombarded with all this shit, especially if you were affected by it, like a lot of this shit happened, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. So it's like Pavlov's dogs. When they started ringing the bell for Pavlov's dogs to, after they had been tortured or whatever they went through, when they rung the bell, they salivated, right? Anytime you hear the word COVID, you salivate metaphorically, right? But taking it back to the 1,000-year change. So those 1,000 years were when they did the blackout. So then after they come out of the 1,000 years, incidentally, that's when they create the letter J. You feel me? The letter J was created in 1550. Christopher Columbus started sailing in 1492. He scoped out the land and seen where he was going to go and said, yo, we have people that are a problem. See, what they don't understand, what they're not going to tell you about the indigenous people that they had to wipe out was in order for us to make the Christianity stick, we have to kill the indigenous people who don't believe in it. Study Shaka Zulu, and when they went to him with Christianity, the first thing he said is, where I'm from. They told him, because you have to think about it like this. When you're bringing somebody the fear of hell, that means you have to have fire be the highest form of reality of pain, right? Who started burning people at the stake? The people that were what? Witches. What is a witch? The Brujas. The witches are not evil people. Witches are very wise people, just like wizards exhibit wisdom. The experiential people, the people who have access to experiential level of the mind, the third level of the mind, those are the people they started to kill. So you can only imagine what they did to the people who had the mind of the understanding. Because why? People who have reached the level of understanding of the mind are easily able to tap into their soul, which easily ascends them through the tree of life to Masiach energy. So when we burn the witches and the wizards at the stake, right? We're gonna burn them. As we burn them alive, because fire, the two worst deaths that you can ever experience. I've never experienced death, but from how it plays out is drowning and being set on fire are the two worst deaths you can have. Incidentally, those are the two biggest deaths, two biggest ways of annihilation that are in our religious texts. We had the flood that killed all the people, and then you have when he said the text says, when I come back, it's not going to be fire. It's not going to be water this time. It's going to be fire. There's a reason for that. Because when I bring fire, fire is the worst death that you can have next to water, because you feel it while you're alive. Who was burning people alive in order to invoke this fear? It wasn't indigenous people. We burned the dead, cremate the body. You dig what I'm saying? Think about this. When they find history, right? Burials and shit, you got to start looking indigenously. Really burials were only provided for the Masiat class. Low key, when we put it on that level. So when you look at the kings and like they're digging up pharaohs and their suits and their suitettes and things like that. Why aren't they built? Why are they not digging up regular people? All of these dinosaur fossils they find, why would they not find regular humans? Because we didn't bury our people. Our people were cremated in the fire, because fire is transformative and it sends it back. Metaphorically, it is also the phoenix and the ash. This is why the phoenix, when it comes out, it turns into what? An egg, and is reborn again. When you are set on fire and your body is cremated and it turns into the ash, not the very next generation, but then when a baby comes through, or whatever the case may be, it's there. Our indigenous roots are so wired to us that our people will literally tell us, you've been here before. You're not supposed to bury people. Our people never sent people back to the earth. They sent them back to the ethers. And you did that through the transformative ritual of the fire that set you on fire. Just look at you can say that I'm reaching, but the facts are the facts. Like, where are the regular bodies? They only dig up fair. Like, you don't see any bones from anybody else. The bones that they are finding are like, oh, they go back 1.4 million years back to Africa and shit. All of this is good shit. But it's like, how many people were really being burned or really being buried? They buried their people. It was because it was a different reality. But anywho, when you create that reality where you're burning people alive, right? You're burning the people alive. You're able to create and invoke the fact that when you die, this is what you have for eternity. You're able to solidify the lie and create the lie to be reality. But when you're going to indigenous people and you have two realities that you're bringing to them, the first reality, like I said, with Shaka Zulu, they said, yo, the missionaries went over, and I'm going to talk about missionary too. The missionaries went over and um, they said, if you don't convert to Christianity, you're gonna burn in hell. And Shaka Zulu said, where I'm from, we eat fire. That line was very, very powerful, because Shaka Zulu was a part of an indigenous African spiritual connection. This is also why I did the episode on Africoid. There's a difference, because we practice Africoid spirituality. It was a universal thing between the indigenous people and everywhere. Everything that I've done led up to this episode. Now you can follow and pay attention well. You feel me? So when he tells them we eat fire. Now, when you understand Shaka Zulu's story, who betrayed him? His brothers. Why? Because they bribed them with guns and shit. This is how they play their game. They cannot beat you. They have to use you against you. We're going to get to the music too and show how everything is tied into where we are right now. They have to use you to kill you because they can't do it themselves. They legit can't do it themselves. So when they did the colonization, when they first started, the goal was when we come into these different lands, we're going to bring Christianity to and let them know. But when you come into the people, right? And we have to realize, like, if they came from whatever, they have to be under the assumption that they can speak what we speak. One of the dopest stories that I remember growing up, and they used to always embed this story and you want it, was the story of Squanto and Thanksgiving. What they leave out about Squanto is he was kidnapped. You feel me? He was kidnapped and he was taken at a young age over to Europe, over to Spain, over to learn the language and the culture of the people, to allow them to info. They didn't just come with the blankets. They didn't just come and talk to the people. Pocahontas did a fabrication like a motherfucker. They didn't come over here speaking English. They could not communicate with the people because the language was gone. There was no language for them to communicate with. It's not difficult, y'all. So they had to take somebody who was young enough to learn and raised him. Then they brought that motherfucker back. When they talk about the ships and shit like that, they didn't need a whole bunch of people. They didn't need a whole bunch of people to quote unquote enslave. They enslaved the people that were already here on this land. But they did it in the name of the deity that they told you to have. Right? So they had to use a little bit of the truth, like I said. So they created the reality of the fire concept. But then when they brought the people here, when they came back over here and they started bringing the religion and shit, they had a fight. We look at the lost colony, right? The lost colony, the 13 tribes, whatever, the 13 tribes, the 13 colonies. That's very important that they use the number 13. But anyway, the lost colony, right? They said, where did they go? They just disappeared. Did the indigenous people? No, they ate themselves. They were cannibals. They ran out of food and they had to eat themselves, right? That's why when the people came back, nobody was here. But in addition to that, the people of here did not fuck with them. They let them die. They let them die. The indigenous ancestors let them die. They did not preserve them. They did not try to keep them alive. They moved away from them. Right? So when the people came over and they landed or whatever, then first thing they wanted to notice in the history that these people were savages. Yes, they were savages. They were savages. I'll be the first to say they're savages. This is also why I mentioned the 12 laws of the universe, the law of relativity. If you are my enemy and you will desecrate me when I fuck up on your land, you are a savage in my eyes. That's common fucking sense. If I come to your shit to fuck your shit up and you respond to me by fucking my shit up, you will be a savage when I go tell the story. Our people didn't get to tell the story. Nah, bitch, we wasn't savages. We was defending our fucking selves. And we did it absolutely. There was no hands up, don't shoot. There was no I can't breathe. There was like, no, fuck y'all niggas, bro. Y'all are not putting to the sword our men, women, children, and cattle. That's the justification of the book. This is also why I did the episode on the two chosen people. Which side are you on? This whole shit is interwoven, y'all, if you haven't caught on just yet. But anyway, I'm going to get to the Messiah part because it's important. So when you look at what they took away, what they brought back and shit over that 1,000-year dark age period, that 1,000 years, that was when the colonialization was happening. So they were trying to threaten people with the fear of the fire. You feel me? It didn't work because they're like, yo, fire, okay. Fire doesn't bother us. Fire doesn't bother us. We don't fear that. So there was 2 points that are very important that were the biggest threats of the people, but also what had to be changed. So if you think about the people that were on the slave ships, think about the Killmonger quote. We love that shit. We love to chop that shit up, but we don't understand how deep it really runs, allegorically, because he says, throw me in the water so I can die with my ancestors. Bury me with my ancestors who knew that who knew that drowning was greater than being enslaved or whatever the case may be. That wasn't what he said because it's a lot more fluid than that. Everybody quoted that shit in Black Panther. Yeah, put me in the water. But you understand, I told you, remember the 2 ways of torture, the 2 ways to kill somebody. The worst is to drown them or to burn them alive. to drown them or to burn them alive. The ancestors who jumped in the water to drown, who would rather drown, right? They asserted, your water does nothing to me. Okay. Those like Shaka Zulu who said, we eat fire, or those the indigenous people who had the rituals where they danced around the fire. There's documentation of people in Haitian cultures like really tapped in who can sit in fire and don't catch on fire. To see that shows these people don't fear the two tactics in which we're telling them will be what kills them. How do we conquer them? We can't. And why can't we conquer them? What is the reason why we can't conquer them? Why don't they think like we think? Because our people operate from Masiach consciousness at all times. At all times. The fear of the Black Messiah, again, is not a person, it is a state of consciousness. We cannot allow them to reach that pinnacle again because they do not fear the drowning of water. Now, we wonder why psychologically, why don't Black people like swimming? Why don't we like getting in pools and all of that shit? Everybody try. This is how the indoctrination works. The same reason why you don't like swimming, same reason why you don't feel like you can swim or you don't like getting in the water, the same reason why you fear hell. Don't even realize that. Don't even realize that. On a biological level, on a genetic level. This is why I mentioned genetics as well too, because there's mem- in, there's memory banks. There's genetic memory that we have too. I forgot what episode that was, but I talked about that too. You have genetic memory. 2 points of genetic memory that we have is the fear of water and the fear of fire, and we've never feared them before. We understood them as elements. We understood them as forms of transformation. But now those two things are the codes that kind of block the Masiach energy. We stay out of water and we stay away from fire, right? The concept of hell is so strong that it makes us believe that we will be set on fire. So we avoid anything hot, which also makes us avoid the sun. Here's why I'm using the sun, because when we actually look at hell, the word hell etymologically comes from the word helios. What else comes from helios? Holy. Both hell and helios both come from holy, which means that those words etymologically, the roots of them derive from the meaning of what? The sun. You ever wonder why naturally we should be like, it's hot as hell? Hot as hell. What do you call the Greek pantheon? What do you call the Greek pantheon at that time before all of this other shit? Hellenistic period. What did they worship? Gods that sat where? In the sky. Zeus, Apollo, all of these things were related to the sun. Then when you look at the Holy Bible and the Holy Quran, hmm, hmm. Why are they called holy? If the holy derives from the word helios, helios derives from sun. Hell derives from helios, helios derives from sun. Both your heaven and your hell is related to the sun. Phew, mind blown, right? I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. Fuck with me. You know I got it. I don't study like everybody else studies. I don't memorize shit. I go in, and this is why I teach you. The levels of breaking through the wall of cognitive dissonance is the antithesis. You have to understand an antithesis. Study both sides of a thing. I don't play with this shit. You're starting to see what I am. You're starting to see what I am. That's why this episode is so important. That's why the 200th episode was what it had to be, and why this episode is, because there's a gap I needed to close before I can start talking my shit the way I talk my shit, the way I'm supposed to talk my shit. But anywho, horns tooted. Let me get back on point. So when they tell you that, and even our people, they said, "Do you ever felt the summertime? Well, hell is 10 times hotter than the sun. It can't be if hell is the sun." Think about that. That's a mind fuck for your ass. Hell can't be 10 times hotter than the thing that it is. Basic critical thinking. But it's why they took critical thinking out of reality. You feel me? And it's why they keep you in a state of belief. Either you have faith or you have fear in a thing. And you have to trust whatever is being told. That's why I always tell you, I don't believe shit that I say. Go fact check me. There's not many of y'all who have fact checked me and came back and said I was ever wrong. That's wild, ain't it? When you just stop and sit with that. Because I know a lot of y'all. I know y'all. We're over 200 and some plus episodes in. Probably like 230, 240, some shit like that. We're 200 plus episodes in. And y'all have never came back and fact checked me and said that shit didn't check out. Sit with that. Sit with that. Because it ties into what this episode is about. Okay? Okay. So as we develop, and as they, the colonization was happening, it was like, yo, we're going to spread, how can we spread Jesus? We're going to say that, we can't use the fear of fire anymore. We can't use water. And I get it. I'm like, yo, well, why do people fear here now? Because they were burning niggas at the stake. The witches were being burned. So now when you look at a witch, right? What was the witch that was who were the witches that were being burned in the European area? The gypsies. What were gypsies? We know from the even if you watch Hunchback of Notre Dame and shit, and you had Esmeralda, she was the gypsies were Egyptians. They were the black Egyptians that had to be scattered out during the colonization and shit like that. Like one thing that I've learned, like motherfuckers, we never just disappeared. Like they got history believing that they just killed us all. No, some of us had to be ran out, and we had to move within other cultures and shit. But they defined who the fuck we were. Oh, that's a gypsy. She's a gypsy. That's who they were. They were burning the gypsies and the witches. Now, the witches were being burned at the stake because of what they were doing. You feel me? As far as the magic and shit, they mystified it to be something so much crazier than it was. It wasn't. It wasn't. You feel me? The witches were people that were in tune. They had the high Masiach level. The Masiach level of a woman, the highest level of Masiach energy for a woman, she becomes an oracle. The highest level of Masiach energy for a man, he becomes a prophet. Now, a prophet is not someone who regurgitates a religious book. A prophet is someone, and an oracle, same thing. They are one who understands the past thoroughly, has a working knowledge of the present, and can anticipate the future based off of all of these events. There's nothing, the details do not slip through their minds. Women are the oracles because oracle is feminine in basis. It is synthesis and construction. To be prophetic is to be analytical and deconstructive. You break down. That's why prophets are masculine. Okay? Okay. But they're one and the same thing. They can tell you the same story. However, one is based off of synthesis and construction. The other is based off analysis and deconstruction. Again, another point. I've been telling y'all this for a long time. This is what reality is right now. Okay? So the witches that they had to burn at the stake, we have two commonalities that were being in fear. You had the people who said, fuck it, burn me. This is what they're not telling you. When they're telling you that the people that they're burning at the stake, they were people who accepted the choice. As they tell the story, they just grabbed somebody randomly and, oh my God, she's going to burn at the stake because this, that, and the third. Like they feared it. They embraced it. They embraced it. They're not going to tell you that story right. The same way their ancestors embraced jumping in the fucking water and drowning. Bitch, we're not dead. We'll be back. Another Coelho. She love me in the morning. We'll be back. We'll be back. We will be back. They finally caught rhythm to the fact that they will be back when they started to see things happening during slavery revolts, during certain instances where points were trying to be captive and shit. It's like, so the fear of the Black Messiah was not, okay, it's not the savior necessarily. It is the reincarnation of the energy force that now accesses and taps into Masiach energy. So by any means, we know how to suppress that Masiach energy now. They've been studying us for so long that we think that studying is just, or they don't like us because we're black, because we're melanin. Melanin ain't shit but the physical expression of how great you are. We are all born on a higher level. You don't believe me? I had an episode about this where we was talking about how the babies develop. How in the fuck, like, what do you think they do to us with the education system? Really sit with that. If from birth and through the initial milestones of child development, we exponentially eclipse them, why in the fuck do we go to kindergarten together? More than that, why do we go to kindergarten together? And then how are we able to maneuver the way that we are? So now, when moments happen where we get tried as adults at 15, 16 years old, because we're significantly older than them spiritually, We're significantly older than them mentally. We evolved faster. We don't. So now we're looking at it like, oh my gosh, that was just a 15-year-old baby. Not in their eyes, and they're controlling the narrative. Our 15-year-old babies are equivalent to their 25-year-old boys. It's an exponential gap, y'all. It never stopped. The curve never stopped. You just capped off. A lot of us are mentally retarded, spiritually. Are mentally retarded, spiritually retarded because our growth is stunted because we're physically in the same capacity as motherfuckers who are not where we are. But they fear the Black Messiah. So they codified a reality to where we know that there's going to come a point where your mind is going to exceed, or your spirituality is going to exceed what we codify here for you. So what can we do? We can create a paradigm to say, if you do not have this degree, if you do not follow this religion, if you do not honor these particular points that we have set in motion, nobody's going to fuck with you because they're going to look at you like you're crazy. We're going to justify that you're crazy and you have no sense. Look at Kanye right now. Look at Kanye right now. His shit is controversial. It's all over the place because Kanye has not sat with himself enough to truly develop his spiritual component because he's still tied to the religion. The religion is what's fucking Kanye up. I ain't even gonna hold you. If you pay attention, every time Kanye says some shit that makes sense, he goes back and bring it into the religion. Because Jesus did that's why they don't give a fuck about Kanye. That's why they not tripping on Kanye. They like, we know we still got him. We still got him spiritually. Mentally, he done broke free. Mentally, he gets it. You feel me? But that spiritual component still got him bound. He'll tell you, I still believe in Jesus Christ. I still believe Jesus is this and Jesus that, Jesus that, Jesus this, Jesus that. It's like, but dude, Jesus wasn't real, right? Because to know that the letter J didn't exist, that means that it could not be that. That's why I reiterated that so many times. So now as we go into that, right, when they came over here, there's even a book documentation that says how to make a Negro slave. This is why in that episode on the three races of people, when I mentioned the Negro, what the Negro was, and it was like, how did the Negro's name get changed? Because it became the Mayan, just like the Gypsies. And that's why I was mentioning that. Just like you have the Gypsies that were the Egyptian women who practiced magic and shit too, and still that's why they made them quote unquote the lower class of the people. They made it look like they were prostitutes. They weren't. They weren't. They were gypsies. They were Egyptian women. And they were Egyptian women because they were the real Kemetic women. Because the motherfuckers that got to stay in Egypt, they weren't the Egyptians. The motherfuckers that stayed in Egypt weren't Kemetic people. Kemetic people got moved out and called gypsies. When those people got moved out and called gypsies, they started to teach people and they started to learn in the ways and surviving and different things of that nature. And that's where the witches came out. Witches being burned at the stake and all this other crazy shit. Right? Because like I said, it kept the fear and the invocation of the water and fire being the greatest fears. Those are the two of the things that we fear the most as Black people. Blah, blah, blah. Getting it back. So with the letter J not existing, then that means that the deities being had to be Yeshua, right? Yeshua was, this is why they named it Jesus. And they call him Jesus Christ, right? We called it Jesus Christ because Christ means anointing. Christ means anointing. In today's time, you ask somebody what Jesus' last name is, they're going to say Christ. Jesus never had a last name. This is why you have to go all the way back, because you start off Jesus Christ in English. When you get back to the Hebrew, it's Yeshua HaMashiach. The Ah means the. So his name was never Jesus Christ. It was Jesus the Christ. You ever watched a movie? It was a movie with Samuel L. Jackson. I can't think of the name of the movie off the top of the head right now, but he was like, Jesus, I think it was Soul Brothers. He was like, Jesus H. Christ. You ever heard a motherfucker say Jesus H. Christ? And if I ain't know Jesus had a middle name, and they tell you that his middle name is Hamashiach, it's not. His name is Yeshua HaMashiach. Go back to the Hebrew and understand his name is not Hamashiach. Hamashiach is not one word. It's two words. It's Jesus. It's Yeshua HaMashiach. Ha is the article. And it's specifically the definite article. You feel me? Yeshua HaMashiach. Yeshua, or Jesus, the Messiah. The Messiah meant the anointed one. Right? So what does it mean to be anointed? So when I ask people, where was Jesus at for 18 years? Niggas don't know. You feel me? All you know is that he was preaching in the temples up to 12. Then he disappeared and came back at 30. Where the fuck was he at and what was he doing for 18 years? I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good question you don't have the answer to. He was developing his Mashiach energy. Jesus wasn't a Christ yet. He wasn't a Christ yet. It took him 18 years to do it. Didn't really need 18 years, I don't think. But he was in a space learning how to become the Mashiach, which means he was understanding his chakras. He was understanding the levels of the mind. He was going through the tree of life. Hmm. 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 There was levels to what the fuck he was doing. So when he came out and they're like, yo, he got baptized. This is why they changed the perspective. In this moment, they wrote it in the council, and I see it, to change the perspective of water just a little bit. You feel me? To wash and be born again. So it's like, how is Jesus greater than John, but John baptizes Jesus? Because at the time, Jesus wasn't greater than John yet. Because in order for him to become the Messiah, he had to quote unquote be washed in the water, which means what? He had to be passed or initiated through the elements of water. Water is fluidity, right? What chakra does the water govern? The sacral chakra, your feelings and your emotions, right? To be baptized in the water is to be passed through the initiation phase of sacral energy. You feel what I'm saying? But they manipulate it. They twist it a little bit. It's not as deep as you think it is. You feel me? You had to go down to the lake. But the whole system, the whole premise of that was, with Jesus being water, was even deeper than just the sacral and the chakra part. It was to establish him as moving in through the fisher of men phase. Because it wasn't until he got baptized that he went looking for his 12 disciples. What is a Pisces? Pisces is a water sign. What did Jesus' birthmark? The age of Pisces. What was Jesus called? The fisher of men. What were all of Jesus' disciples? Fishermen. But his 12 disciples all denoted one of the zodiac signs. So all of the information and the content that was taken was all, quote unquote, the information that ties to the stars, to the astrology and to the stars of the holy context as it relates to the sun. Okay. It's no different. Like the Quran, I talk about it too in the Quran too. So the Bible is the Holy Bible, Jesus and his 12 disciples, but Muhammad had his 10 companions, right? It's like, that's why the Quran is based off the moon. You have the moon and the 10 celestial bodies, the sun, and then the 9 planets in relation to the moon. And then according to the sun, you have the sun and then the 12 zodiac signs. It's like right there, but it's not right there because they don't tell you it's right there. So then when you break down astrology, you have houses, planets, and signs. They just don't mention the houses within the context of the books. You feel me? But each of these books does talk about the planets and the signs. It's right there, bro. It's right there. But I got to get back to the Mashiach part, right? So Jesus was developing his Mashiach energy. Muhammad wrote the Quran, or he was responsible for he was illiterate. So it's like, yo, if he was illiterate, that means he couldn't read, he couldn't write. So one, if he told these niggas anything, they couldn't fact check it. What the thing was with Muhammad was his introduction was Mashiach energy. He had reached Christ consciousness level where you have the access to shit that other motherfuckers don't have. Excuse me. Other motherfuckers don't have the access to. So you can provide this information and say, hey, this is what it is. And then people can go and look up your information and say, how did you know that? Because it was right. Makes you think a motherfucker is a prophet because of where they tapped into to the ethers. Muhammad and Jesus were both of those, right? They were Mashiachs, right? They had reached the level of Mashiach energy, which is Christ consciousness. So when you say Jesus Christ, it's not Jesus Christ, it's Jesus the Christ, right? Because it's Yeshua Mashiach, right? So Mashiach, to be a Messiah, means that you have reached the level of consciousness, divine consciousness, to where all of your chakras are clear. You have gone through the tree of life. You continually reproduce that and go through the tree of life. And you keep yourself in a mental space, a spiritual, you keep yourself in a fluid space in which the bridge between your soul and your body, soul and soul and your body is the same. Basically, the bridge between your will and your action is fluidly open, which is your thoughts. There's 4 levels to the mind: belief, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. There's 3 modalities to the mind: subconscious, conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. The separating factor, the mind is the bridge between the body and the soul, right? The separating factor between your willpower and your action in this world is tied to your belief, your knowledge, your wisdom, your understanding, and your conscious mind, subconscious mind, and unconscious mind. When we look at what religion designed us to be, it's just told us to have faith in something. So it's designed to keep you at the basic level of your mind, and you only do it consciously. You have fear of faith consciously, right? I'm watching how on social media, I bullshit you not, there's this one person that I follow. I started following like years ago because it was during the woke phase, and she was talking about 5D this and the ancestors this and that. Like literally now she is now teaching the Bible. Not only that, she's teaching the Bible from the Caucasoid perspective. It's like, wow, what happened to you? You was bullshitting. See, everybody talk about this 5D shit and all of this other shit. I'm proud to say, and I feel confident and comfortable in saying that I'm glad I stood on the shit that I stood on, because I really went into it and studied the shit. All these lashings that I took mentally and spiritually to get this information and to learn it and make sure it's real, and everybody was just playing with it and just acting like, you know what I'm saying? Shit hurt my feelings, but it's like, Masiak energy comes with something. It comes with something, bro. It comes with a level of freedom that people don't really understand or don't even care to understand, because it's like, if I'm stuck in a state of belief, then as long as I know what people don't know, then I can make them believe me. The true mark of understanding, the true mark of Masiak energy is to get you to the point where you don't need me. I spark something in you to make you need yourself. You feel me? Look at Muhammad, look at Jesus. Both of these were Masiat people. They never told you to follow them. Like, when you really sit and think about it, niggas told you to follow these motherfuckers. They said, don't follow me. Be better. Use what I use and become that. They asked Jesus, they tried to press this nigga. They was like, in the Bible it say, do you think you a God? He said, what the fuck your book say, nigga? He said, your book said you're a God. So what the fuck? Yes. Like, nigga, what? How did he know that information? Like, think about it. The text in which he quoted was from Psalms or whatever the case may be, as he's writing. Where does he go to study that information? And what is a psalm? Psalms are spells. Nobody wants to talk about that part. Psalms are spells. Proverbs are principles. When you look at the book, you have a book of Psalms, and you have the book of Proverbs. It's interesting how we kind of gravitate towards certain things. What do women normally quote? Women typically quote Psalms. They quote Proverbs from now and then in other books. Women typically fuck with Psalms because Psalms is more tied towards feminine energy. Proverbs are principle. They're more so tied to masculine energy. You feel what I'm saying? So the Psalms were the they were the spells and incantations of the Hebrew language. I know a lot of people, it's weird how the Bible tells you that magic is not real, but the entire Hebrew language was built off magic. Because it's all coded. You feel me? They wrote it. Like, we got to put the Psalms in. So when you start to quote Psalms and say shit like that and you pray under Psalms, you are channeling an energy of that. So you're creating a spell. It's an incantation. It's an incantation that is no longer in the language that incantation was written. So the words that have now been used and manipulated have been like, they're not giving you the same result that they were once supposed to give you. Right? But you're reading them faithfully. You're tapping in the Psalms, and it's about understanding the intention. So when you understand the people, right, Everybody who was colonized, they still maintained their reality. Like when we look at the Santeria, right? Santeria is connected to what? It has Christianity roots in it, in a sense. You feel what I'm saying? Most people that are Santeria, they still, it's like they got the rosary beads and shit and Hail Marys and all that shit. They still tied to the Catholic side. You feel me? For the most part. The people who Baptist church people, these niggas, they kept their shit right. One thing that's unanimous across the board is wearing the color white. They kept certain rituals within their shit. They're like, yo, we got to hide and we got to mask this shit. So when they decided to make the Negro a Christian, our ancestors couldn't really tell the truth and tell the people, all right, man, we use this shit to make you shut the fuck up, but we're going to codify our shit within it. Right? So they knew how to get to the Messiah energy. When we look at the Messiah, right, we be thinking that the Messiah still has to be a person. No. One person that comes and save you. No, it just so happens that as they tell the history, the energy, the Messiah energy is a motherfucker who stepped up to decided to help everybody. Harriet Tubman, Messiah energy. Sojourner Truth, Messiah energy. Nat Turner, Messiah energy. I think his name was Denmark Dessalines. I know his last name is Dessalines. And I'm not sure if it's Denmark. I don't know why I want to say Denmark, but Messiah energy. Overture, Messiah energy. They didn't just, they just weren't like, because Messiah energy allows you to connect to everything and everybody. But it's a level of ascension. And we think, oh, these people are ahead of their time. They just divine ordinance. No, because in the state that they were in, they could not sit and channel and say, this is how I got here, y'all. But it was also always some major dramatic, traumatic event that opened them the fuck up. And next thing you know, they were different. A lot of times it was either going to be severe trauma or near-death experience. A severe trauma or a near-death experience that opened them up. Now, let me put this disclaimer in there. Messiah energy is not something that you put yourself through an attempted death circumstance in order to achieve. No, you don't control when Messiah and when your portals are open. It just happens. You feel me? And then when it does happen, it takes you into a different place, right? One thing that they've always done was that if they had it ingrained within you before your experience, because they understood, okay, we fear the rise of a black Messiah, right? We fear the rise of a black Messiah. So in order for that black Messiah to emerge, we have to have all of these things in place. So when that near-death experience happens, or when that severe trauma happens, or that heartbreak or whatever happens that opens them up and sends them to another portal, what it's going to do to them is we already have these mechanisms in place. So that way, when it does happen, they'll feel like they're losing their mind. Because this goes against everything that they believed in. Not realizing that they're developing new understanding because they're gaining new knowledge. Instantly, you're able to see an antithesis and you feel like you're losing your mind. A lot of people that I've known right now, even people that I've done one-on-one sessions with, they feel like they're going crazy, so much so because now in what they've always believed in, they're able to see the antithesis too. And it's not even believing in the antithesis, it's seeing equally the antithesis and the thesis at the same time and realizing that they hold equal weight. That's what makes you feel like you're going crazy, because you never gained the knowledge to solidify and validate it, because you have been programmed all of this time. This is why I was telling people in the conscious community, be careful what you're trying to wake people up. Because most of these conscious motherfuckers were doing it from the state of belief. Even myself, when I first started it, because I've always been open. And this is why I'm mentioning this. This is why you hear me constantly talk about it. I spoke on several times when I got hit by a car at 17 months old. My shit was open prior to being indoctrinated. It was divine ordinance, if you ask me, but I was open prior, like way, way prior to being indoctrinated with religion, being indoctrinated with the education system. So I've been able to see both sides without getting corrupted and leaning towards one or the other. You dig what I'm saying? Hey, bro, for real though, at some point we got to stop talking to women about masculinity and start talking to each other about it. And I mean really talk to each other. Not as enablers and co-signers, but as men trying to reach the pinnacle of our essence. And that's what the So Frail series does. So Frail 1 is the definition. So Frail 2 is the acknowledgement. And So Frail 3 is the resolution. If you rock with the So Frail conversations, I can guarantee you will rock with the So Frail series of books. So visit IamJustSaying.com right now so you can add the series to your library. I promise you will never look at masculinity the same again, and you're going to stop wasting your time arguing with women about it. This is a conversation that men need to have between men, and it's time we start having this conversation now. And then the fact that I almost drowned when I was 12 years old, 200th episode when I was, convicted. Well, not convicted. I got to stop saying I wasn't convicted. I was charged because I didn't get charged with anything, you know. Then when I got my heartbreak at 21, you feel what I'm saying? Then you remember when I talk about the numbers, look at 17, 17, 17, 12, 17 to 21. When I talk about being a challenge number, my challenge numbers are 3s and 8s. 17 months I got hit by a car, that's an 8. 12 years old, I almost drowned at the beach, that's a 3. 17 years old, I was arrested and charged with life. You feel me? That's an 8. 21 years old, I got my first significant heartbreak that broke me to my core. That's a 3. Our ancestors knew all of this shit. And they had all this shit on point. So the point that I'm making with that is that, like, I was already open and attuned and I started to see it. So when I started studying a religion, there was no barrier for me. That's why I was able to see both sides. But this is why I was saying that when I tell the conscious community, you can't just tell people to wake up. Everybody's in a deep level of sleep, a different level of sleep. You may wake up and still be stuck on a belief level of the mind. And you only have faith in the fact that now it's an antithesis because you always knew that there was bullshit. Most of these motherfuckers who came out and switched, like the sister that I was just talking about who, started off on a 5D shit, she's only at the belief level of the mind. And I could tell. When I tell y'all these things, I know what chakra you're on by talking to you. I know what level of the mind you are by talking to you. It's not to be disrespectful or condescending. It's truly understanding this. This is why I'm able to say, you know what, I can't talk to you about certain shit. But then when you come into my space acting like you're here, I'm going to talk to you like you're here. So then now when I fuck up your whole mentality, and it's like a lot of people think they're smarter than they are. And this is not a shot to them or anything, but in thinking that they're smarter than they are, it's them expressing that they are on a level of the mind that they're not yet. Being smart and being at certain levels of the mind aren't being able to conduct a conversation and have a conversation about a specific school of thought or shit like that. It's like, I can always tell when people run out of information. Not only when they run out of information, but when they run out of their thought process. Because it deviates. Like, you have to pick a side of what you believe in. This is why, like, I can have a conversation with you, and then I can literally go into this to the antithesis, then come back into the exact topic we talk about. It's like, you know what? I never thought about it like that. I know, but I think about it like that all the time because it's Masiak energy. It's Masiak energy. Masiak energy is not something that we don't all have access to. These are the certain bridges that have to be connected between what we believe in, what we know, what we experience, and what we understand. Black people, we have been so subjugated into a space that anything we don't understand, we're going to codify by one or two ways. Either that's God or that's the devil. Because we don't, that right there shows you what level of the mind that most Black people are. Anything you don't understand, because we know fear and faith are both tied to your lack of understanding. Faith is going towards something you don't understand. This is God. Fear is running away from something you don't understand. This is the devil. So when Black people, we're in that space of comatose where we can literally look at ourselves and say, oh, that ain't nothing but God if it's good, or that ain't nothing but the devil if it's bad. Then how do you get confused and call it a blessing in disguise? You see what I'm saying? Like it gets different because you're picking an antithesis. You're picking the thesis and you're avoiding the antithesis. That's how it's like, if I can avoid the antithesis by calling it the devil. We have been programmed to believe that anything I don't understand, that I stay away from, is the devil. But anything that I do understand, that I'm comfortable with going towards, is God. But then what happens when these two things coincide? Like, I was just having not this conversation, but I just seen this post, and I probably said this exact same shit on the episode I just recorded yesterday, which would have been Wednesday's episode. for y'all hearing it now. But in that, I was talking about how there's three. God and the devil have three relationships. They work for each other, they work with each other, and then they work against each other. And then, yeah, because it was yesterday's, that episode I recorded yesterday. And then, which was Wednesday's episode. That's what I was talking about. Isaiah 54:16-17. For I create the destroyer to work havoc in your life, but he can only do what I allow. Therefore, no weapon forged against you shall prosper. Because they work for each other, against each other, and with each other. For, with, and against. Now, at Masiach Energy, this is why I talk about, you know how people say you got your lower self and your higher self? And I always talk about, and I think this might be season 9, episode 1, the absolute self. The absolute self is when these two things come together, your lower self and your higher self. Isaiah 54:16-17 is the epitome of that. You feel me? So when you look at, does God work for the devil, against the devil, or with the devil? It's all three. You know why? Because that is the absolute singularity of the source. That is also the absolute singularity of what is within you. Your lower self and higher self are not points of ascension. They are mirror reflections of each other. They can work for each other, they can work with each other, and they can work against each other. Case in point, I use this as an example. A good lie. You feel me? People say you shouldn't be lying or whatever the case may be, but sometimes you have to fabricate the truth a little bit in order to serve a point. You feel me? The good is there. That's the higher self in that perspective. But now you're going to work, the lower self is going to work for the higher self by saying, okay, look, I got to tell the truth, but I need you to lie. I need a little bit of the lie in there. That's why a good lie contains a little bit of the truth. It solidifies itself. The other side of that, you feel me? When you look at superhero movies, the hero doesn't win until he gets with the shits. Until he says, you know what, I got to step into my dark side in order to solve this problem. Feel me? Does what it does. And then they can work with each other where they're in harmony. You feel me? Case in point, when we look at men, we say, women say they want men who are protectors. What is a protector? Other than a violent motherfucker with discipline. Everybody wants a warrior, but they don't want a warrior who's built for war. I just heard this quote. That shit was so fucking powerful. He's like, dude said, because see, a warrior is only comfortable in war. I said, whoa, nigga, think about it. A warrior is comfortable in war, which means they're discomfortable. They're uncomfortable in peace. There's discomfort and peace for them. You feel me? Because these two beings have to go together because it's tied to the Masiach energy. Now, reason why I use that, does God work for, with, or against the devil? And they work together in simpatico because these are points of ascension. These are points of reflection of the source. You feel me? These are points of us. This is why if you read the story of Job, the devil was walking around in heaven after he had been banished. How, nigga? And then God didn't know where he was? What does that say? When devil walked into heaven with some angels that was all supposed to be kicked out, you feel me? God was like, hey, where you been? Devil said, walking around the earth. Basically, nigga, where the fuck you sent me? Because y'all got to work for you at a time. You feel me? Now I'm about to work with you because it's, hey, have you ever considered my servant Job? Devil's minding his business. God make a bet. I bet you can't make him curse me. That point that we're working with each other. Most times in the book, as they express it, these two are working against each other. But it's to serve the same purpose and bring the same alignment. You feel what I'm saying? Which is the singularity of the self. Started from the beginning where Eve was tempted by the devil and he was the snake or whatever the case may be. He said he doesn't want you to eat the snake because you will become like them. He's simultaneously working against him to work for him. And vice versa. You dig what I'm saying? It's a crazy plot twist when you get to the higher points of this understanding. But when we look at the Masiach energy is not good. It is not bad. So when they look at, Jesus was flipping the tables in the church when they was gambling and he was beating people with whips. That's not good energy. But never once did, if you actually read the text, never once did he give a fuck. He didn't care. He beat the shit out of them for violating. He held them accountable for violating. His light side and his dark side work together. You feel what I'm saying? The Mashiach is the person. The Mashiach energy is the absolute energy. That is the energy that is designed to allow you to be. You're good and you're bad. One thing they didn't like about Jesus was that he was a Nazarene. They called a nigga project baby, bruh. If you understand what Nazareth was from the context and shit in the culture, Nazareth was a project. He was a poverty-stricken kid. And then he grew up, educated himself from 12 to 18. You feel me? And I know they're like, yo, sing. Y'all like sing. I thought you said it wasn't real. It's not real. I'm telling you what the mythology is. That's why there's no timestamps in this book. This is why I always tell y'all religion is divided into 3 points: mythology, the ritual, and the allegory. When you sprinkle in a bit of the truth in the motherfucker, you can justify and make it. When you sprinkle a little bit of truth in a lie that you're telling, you can, and nobody knows where the truth is and where the truth starts and where the lie ends, it's all going to be the truth. Either it's all going to be the truth or it's all going to be the lie, depending on the extreme. This is why when people find out that one flaw in it, they don't trust it anymore, because that is the first level of the mind. The moment trust is tarnished, you will fear whatever it is for the remainder of the time. But if you believe it, if you trust in it, you now have faith in it forever. No matter what somebody brings to you, you cannot unsee it. You feel me? You can't unsee it. It changes your entire perception. It changes your entire reality. You dig what I mean? So the mythology is the first point. As long as you believe the mythology is real, you'll never leave. So when they say we fear the rise of a black messiah, we're not worried about no black messiah. This is why it's like, well, let's make sure we keep the Christians in the forefront. So when we look at who the leaders become, they're all religious people. There are religious people, because if you're religious, there's no way you can ascend to your Mashiach energy if you're only at the belief level of the mind. So who do we have as our faces? Islam and Christianity. They may cycle from time to time, but this is why Malcolm X ended up dying when he ended up, because Malcolm X, there was a different aspect. And I call Martin Luther King a buster. I do. Because he didn't reach his energy. He didn't come to his realization or even his antithesis until after the fact. After integration was already, that's when they killed him. Oh, nigga, you catching on. Never mind. Pop, got you. We're going to make you a martyr. So what you stand on is what they're going to solidify. What we made sure you stood on before you died, they're going to solidify. You feel me? Malcolm X, the same thing. He started to reach his absolute self. That's one of the scariest parts about it all. Like Malcolm X was in the space of utilizing his Mashiach energy, and they saw it. They saw it. It wasn't about him being disrespectful or anything like that. It's Mashiach. Because now, I say this respectfully and howeverly, but it is what it is. This is why there's never been and there will never be another representative of the Islam faith higher than the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They give him the honorable title and they keep him as the honorable, because do not go above that. Mashiach energy will send you above where the honorable is. So even no matter how great these people are and how much they tap into a higher version of themselves, they limit themselves out because they put something above themselves. Their absolute nature has something above it that they will always fall back into. You feel me? If you look at some of the brothers that are running the game right now, that are part of the Nation of Islam right now, even when they're on a mean ass run, talking that shit, dropping that knowledge, they'll stop themselves and say, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says this. No different than how they cap you off as a religious person. Well, the Bible says this, that, and the third. No matter how much you run, it's like, well, Jesus this. They'll cap themselves off with what they have viewed as the highest, not realizing that they have the capacity to be at that highest level. It's the level of belief. They don't fear that shit. The person who does not have any affiliation to politics, any affiliation to religion, any affiliation to education is the freest man you'll ever see. And that is who's feared within the Mashiach energy. Kanye is a threat because two of those things he's no longer attached to. The college dropout. He left the education system. You feel what I'm saying? the religious system, the religion, the education system. And I just said something else. See, that's why I hate when I'm flowing, because I be trying to repeat it and I forget. But he's still bound to the religious side. Politics. And that's the thing. He was never associated with politics, but now he's trying to get into politics. You feel me? It's like, nah, like when you don't have an affiliation to any of that and you're up there, that's who they fear, because that's who the people listen to. Nipsey Hussle, Tupac, they were there. Biggie, people, when we look at Biggie and Pac's beef, when we look at the Biggie and Pac beef, right? And we think Biggie got killed as the beef of what? No, Biggie got killed as a result of Pac being killed to make sure Tupac's shit ended the way that it ended. You died because you were beefing with people. You didn't die because you were a messiah. Tupac had reached messiah energy. This is why a lot of people saying Tupac was crazy. This is why to know Tupac is to look at it from a perspective of Tupac was multiple people. You feel what I'm saying? They're like, yo, Tupac was a poet. Tupac was an actor. Now they're trying to use that role of, oh, he was an actor. Y'all know he really wasn't gangster. He really wasn't like that. Like, no, he really caught a body. Not only did he catch a body, he caught a body that was an undercover cop who was doing what? Beating on another unarmed black person. That was a real situation. A situation he really got out of under the Good Samaritan law. That's Messiah energy. You're protected a certain way. So when you can unite the streets, and when you can unite the people in poverty, the people we have spellbound by belief, you're a dangerous motherfucker. Tupac was too young to see what he was doing or to see what he had. So when he's having these interviews, he's talking about, yo, I can't help that the motherfucker screamed thug life when the motherfucker, when he screamed thug life when he killed the motherfucker that was beating his ass. When you telling people, no, I don't feel like it's sane to motherfucking, if he said tell a motherfucker the same gun that you would kill your brother with in a second, kill the motherfucker that's killing your people. You in a war. Why not? He said, that's sane than the motherfucker. Tupac was there. Tupac was there. Nipsey Hussle, he was there. These are the people that they worried about. They're like, yo, these are the motherfuckers we can't take, we can't fuck with, but we can't kill them. We can't kill them. They have to be killed by their own. You feel me? When Pac got hit 5 times, there's Messiah energy in that. His energy, his vibratory frequency was so high that the bullets couldn't stop him. The first time. It made him human. 50 Cent is another one. There's been a lot of messiahs that we're watching in real time. And it seems like, yo, you got the Midas touch. You can't be stopped. 50 is another one that has Messiah energy, but I don't even know if he is aware of it. Like, you dig what I'm saying? You got shot 9 times, my nigga. 9. He's not going to let it happen again, though. He can't. He won't. You feel what I'm saying? But that does something to you. Facing death does something to you. It takes you to a whole nother point. I've noticed that there's a common thing when I hear the people, that have died. Like, I heard 50 Cent say the shit. I heard Pac say the shit. Motherfuckers been shot at and shit like that. They're like, yo, I ain't never really give a fuck. But nigga, I really don't give a fuck now. It's not about not giving a fuck. You have reached your absolute self. As a motherfucker who has reached his absolute self, I get it. People ask me, why don't you fear death? I can tell it's not that I don't fear death. I understand it. So I'm not afraid of it. I've seen it too many times to be afraid of it. I've experienced it too many times and it didn't beat me. It wasn't my time yet. And that's when I started taking my life seriously. You feel me? And I started to accept, I have Messiah energy, and it's different. is different than what all these other people thinking that it really is. And the sad part about it, the scary part about it, the beautiful part about it, everybody has it. So when we look at Noirephobia and they're like, it's the fear of the Black Messiah. We fear the Black Messiah. You fear the anointed one who can come into the space and utilize the energy to wake the people up, to show them how to get to their Masiach energy. When I told y'all, like now, I say it all the time, it's now time for seen to be seen. I could not show my face while I built this. I could not show my face while a lot of this shit was being written. I could not show my face while So Frail 3 was being in the works. I had to get this information out. So Frail 3, So Frail 1 and 2 are banned from Barnes and Noble. They will not sell my books. I don't know what the fuck I did to them, but they will not sell my books. They have pulled them from their shelves. They still sell Hit and Raw, living a plant-based lifestyle for life, but they will not sell So Frail 1 and So Frail 2. They don't fuck with it. I know why. When I started to see the prices of So Frail going up on Amazon, I started to know why. I already know what's up. Motherfuckers got to catch up. I was talking to one of my homies and shit, and I was like, they're literally just now starting to have the conversations on chapter 2 of So Frail 1. I wrote that shit in 2016. Chapter 2 are some of the issues that they're starting to address as far as masculinity goes now. There's there's 3 books total. They're only in chapter 2 of the first one in their conversation now. It's Masiach energy, bro. It's Masiach energy. And these are one of the things that is like, you have to acknowledge that you all have this within yourself. A lot of y'all have listened to every single episode. You have Masiach potential. You just haven't tapped into it yet. You feel isolated from the world. You feel like, you know what? I don't belong here. Or I feel like there's a lot of different things that run through your mind. It's an energy that you have of absoluteness. You have a nonchalant feeling about the world. You feel like, I don't give a fuck, but then I do give a fuck. I give a fuck, but I care deeply, but I can still care less. It's a weird paradox that you're feeling in it right now. Like, that it's a wild paradox. I'm gonna say that. And a lot of people, we throw that word out there, paradox. We be like, oh, it's a strange paradox that we living in. This energy feels this way. It's not a paradox. It's what absoluteness feels like. To be 100% absolute, you feel me? That's why it's like when you look at like Nipsey Hussle and shit. He was a fucking 60s Crip, nigga. He's a rolling 60s Crip, nigga. He's that. But then you see a whole different side of him on the school playground when he's talking to kids and talking about like, it's Masiach shit. You can't help the negative side of yourself, but you embrace it fully and you make it equally alive in you. I talk a lot of shit about, the streets and shit that I ran with and the gangsters and shit that I hung with and shit like that. And it's like, I never got into it because of my absolute energy. I was with the shits all the time. It didn't matter, but I was also with other shit too. One thing that I learned about the Masiach energy, is it comes off like you're all over the place. It's just you're tapped into everything. You're choosing what you want to be tapped into when you want to be tapped into it. It's deeper than being intelligent. It's deeper than being knowledgeable. It's deeper than being wise. It's understanding. You feel what I'm saying? This is why I told you the bridge between the body and the soul is the mind, right? But the mind, you cannot start accessing your soul until you have understanding. They purposely keep us in a state of belief. So this is why when you look at what J. Edgar Hoover saying, what he's saying, and then you're looking at churches and mosques and shit being developed under a 501c3. The 501c3 says you cannot do anything that impedes on government-run practices. So how can it really be for the people? If we know the government is really fucking the people up, how can the church really be for the people if they have a 501c3? Oh, that means everything that you gain, you have a limitation to what you can use. It has to keep the people in the struggle. You have to keep providing hope. I was just breaking down the etymology of the word hope not too long ago. Hope is assumed certainty. Hope itself is an oxymoron. The word hope is an oxymoron. How can you assume certainty? You can't. See how these words play the fuck out? Hope. They tell you, oh, just have hope in this. I have an assumed certainty. I am certain that this assumption that I'm making. That's what hope is. So they give you hope because hope triggers faith. Faith is a dynamic of belief. Most of these people don't really believe. Most of these people don't really love their gods. They don't really respect or honor their gods. They fear heaven or hell. They have faith in heaven, have fear in hell, and they live their life according to hope that they're going to get into one and not the other. But they don't realize that, and in tying and sticking into, studying some Africoid spirituality, like the scales of Ma'at, right? Like I remember one time I was talking to this dude. He was like, "Yo, what spiritual practice do you?" I said, "I study Ma'at." Ma'at is a comedic God. That's not a spiritual system. All right, I'm not gonna talk to you no more. I have no time to argue with a motherfucker who believes in shit. I can tell, like, the defensiveness that you like. And rather than asking why would you say that it is a practice rather than a God? Because it is the God that is denoted under the practice of harmony and balance. She's the representation of it. You can follow that. But anywho, when you look at what Ma'at represents and what it balances out, it's your heart has to be weighed against the feather. See, people think that your heart means that a balanced heart, a heart that is well balanced against, a feather, means that you didn't do anything in this life. You didn't do anything in this life. No, you did everything in this life in harmony. Your absolute self. My good is equal to my bad. My high is equal to my low. My lower self is equal to my higher self, and vice versa. That's what makes your heart equally balanced. It's not that you live the righteous, virtuous life and you live the righteous, virtuous life in which you did absolutely nothing. No, that's not reality, because it's not possible. You cannot be birthed into a war zone and not do war shit. Think about it. You really think if we are going to honor it and look at it from the perspective of how our religions are based out, like, you really think if your creator, knew you before you were formed in the womb and knew the circumstances, your parents, all of that shit, like, you really think they're going to punish you for the life they put you in? For you to, the number one rule of nature is self-preservation. Your deity puts you in an exact circumstance for you not to preserve yourself by any means necessary, by the only way you know how. Come on, bro. Why would you be penalized for that? But that's where the belief comes in to keep you from reaching your Masiyat level, because the fact that you perceive that is like, this is just the way my life's supposed to be. So now I have to be fearful of everything. I can't do anything because this is not going to work for me. This is going to make me not get into heaven. Heaven and hell are states of consciousness. Well, not states of consciousness. They're states of mind. The consciousness is the Masiyat energy. The Masiyat energy can be used to create heaven, or it can create hell for yourself. The moment you understand Masiyat energy, that's when you're able to create your heaven and your hell. Even the Bible in the book of Revelations, it says, you feel me? There was, after the book of Revelation, the seven seals break. Seven seals, seven chakras. It opens up. You have your spiritual awakening. After the awakening is over and you beat the Leviathan, the serpent, the Kundalini energy, you master it. Once you can send it back down and you can control it, now you have created what? A new heaven and a new earth, a new mind and a new body. Takes your soul to be opening up and go to that battle. So you have to, the new mind and the new body develops when you have reached all the levels of the mind, because you have the belief, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, the three modalities of conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. Once you can access your unconscious mind and reach understanding within your unconscious mind, you create the new body, because as the saying goes, when you know better, you do better. You ever been wondering why you can hear music and shit, and the music, like, these are states of belief, but you're not absolved of the energy of the world just because you're ignorant to it. The very music you hear, it suppresses an entire reality within you and makes you stay stagnant, stay in a certain space for life. You feel me? Watch the music you listen to. All of this shit was by design. We're going to keep them at the mental level of belief. You feel me? So when the colonization began, and they began with, how to make a Negro a Christian. The Negro is the original indigenous person. They ended up being called the African Americans, what we have today, but it was the indigenous person. And we're going to give them the religion that solidifies and shuts them the fuck down. So with them being shut down, what does that ultimately do? Keeps you from reaching the level of the mind. So they stripped the language. So now I kind of had a mean gap, a mean tangent that brought this rabbit hole to a different space, but I just remember where I got to go back to with that. So, it's the finale. So, the finales are often hefty. So when we consider this reality of where we are as far as, the colonization, they brought us a whole different indoctrination to ourselves to keep us from reaching Mashiach energy. So another point within Mashiach energy being what the energy really is that it liberates you to the point where you learn how to liberate your people. I can't give you any money. I can't give you any resources, but I can give you the things that I know can make you free. But it took a level of absoluteness within myself to be able to ascend to these points, to be able to do them. You dig what I'm saying? One thing I learned about every Mashiach that preceded me, and understand with me saying the Mashiach energy that preceded me, I'm not calling myself a savior. I'm not your savior. I am not here to save you. A Messiah is not a savior. It is an anointed one. An anointed one is a person who's reached the absolute level of themselves. Some of us will never reach the absolute level of ourselves because when we face death, we fear. When we face death, we can't accept our bad. Because the phrase, oh, your life flashed before your eyes and all this other shit. You start to fear that you're going to go to hell for what you've done. I don't fear that I'm going to hell I don't fear going to hell for the bad things that I've done in my life. Do you know why? Because doing those bad things in my life made me survive through the hell that I was living in. Jay got a line on Freemason where he say, Lord, forgive me, I never would have made it without sin. You got to get to a certain point to get that line. I've talked to religious people that have, quoted that line for. They're like, nah, you could have did it. You this, and a third. Now you missed the point. I would have never made it without sin. I never would have made it without sin. There's things that you have to do in this world because we're in a sinful world. We're in you feel me? So that's why when you look at the book, it says be in the world, not of the world. So that means if I'm in the world, that means I have to maneuver according to the different traps of the world. You dig what I'm saying? You can't just be good all the time because this isn't a good world. The fuck? Be the light. Be the light means that in order to be the light, in order to be the light, you have to understand the darkness. You dig what I'm saying? In order to be the light, you have to be the darkness. How do you turn the light on? How do you turn the light up? How do you know when the light is supposed to shine and how deep it's supposed to shine if you're not in the darkness with the light? That's absolute self. That's your absolute energy, but your absolute energy is predicated upon first achieving the Mashiach level of yourself. They've been telling you for a long time, walk in the image of the Prophet Muhammad, walk in the image of Christ, walk in the image of Krishna, walk in the image of Buddha. These people were what they were because of their balance, because they're absolute self, not because they were just divinely created like that. No, look at their stories, bro. They reached enlightenment. That is the whole thing of the whole premise. You reach enlightenment. That is what it means to fear the Messiah, because people think that when you reach enlightenment, you suddenly become some kind of mystical sage who only says good things all the time, and you got an old gray ass beard and all this other shit, and everything you do is so philosophical and shit. It's not. The absolute self is balanced. I've been showing y'all the absolute self for a long time. I'm just now finally telling you that this is what you've been looking at. From the start of the brand being just seen, nobody knew what the fuck I was doing. They're like, oh, You're just seeing, hey, I'm just me too. You don't get it, but I'm glad that you affirmed it because now you can walk with me. The universe doesn't give a fuck whether you know or not. If you constantly affirm some shit, it assumes that you're doing it's going to put in your life that way. I've watched the very people who have changed their names to just whatever. I watch how their lives have progressed. Because of the energy in which they're following and emulating out of me, I'm already putting that energy in the world and it's automatically reverberating onto them because they're connected to it. This is why I say just seeing nothing less, always more, because there's going to be more that I'm going to bring to you, which now brings it to the balance of profane profundity. Everything that I've ever given you is absolute reality. I give you both sides of everything because my goal is not to make you feel or follow or believe. It's to get you to understand. The moment I can get your mind to the level of understanding and being able to understand on your unconscious level, then you can access your will. Then you can access your will. Until then, you have to follow the will of a deity, and it's a deity you don't know the will of. You can't know the will of a deity if you do not know the deity's mind. You do not know the deity's mind if you do not know the deity. All of our deities can only be found within the books that we read. And these books are 2,000 years old. Bruh. You can't even wear the same shirt from last year because the season and everything changes about the last year's season. So you're really going to follow 2,000-year-old doctrines that tell you to do something that they did 2,000 years ago, crossing over 4 languages over that, 6 languages, crossing over 6 languages over that time frame. Nobody sees an issue with that. Nobody sees an issue with that. But it takes Mashiach energy in order to be able to do that. If you actually read the Bible, Jesus never read the Bible. The only time Jesus is known quoting the Bible is when he is quoting the part about the God. When they ask him, "Do you think you're the God?" He was like, "What do you think I am?" You feel me? Which ties into I am that I am. That was a powerful thing because I want to say it was either Noah or Moses. This is where things are going to get different. It was either Noah. It had to be Moses because he was like, "What is my name?" He said, "Can you at least just tell me your name?" They translated the text again to say, "I am that I am." In Kemet, that is pronounced Nuk Pu Nuk, but it's I am that I am. But if you go to the original text, he tells you, "My name is Yahweh." So then when you read John 1:1, it says, "In the beginning, God was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God." What was the fucking Word? God told you what the Word was. Because even if you look at Elohim, right? Elohim, if you study, it's a sound. Yahweh is a sound. Jehovah is a sound. YHVH, Yadhe, Vavhe. They're sounds. And it's dope because what I'm about to say is going to be real crazy, but it's real, right? Just look it up. So when you look at the word being God, right? Yahweh, Vavhe, and you break it down to the elements, air, fire, water, and earth. There are two parts of that. When they say God is not a being, but it's the sound. The name of God is a sound because it denotes your breath. Spirituality. Spirit means breath. Inspire, expire. But the Yahweh, the first half of Yahweh, is your inspire. It sounds. The sound is spelled Yahweh. Then your expire, Vavhe. Yahweh, Vavhe. When you breathe, you are speaking the name of God. But you are also invoking the 4 elements. Your inhale is, I want to say, fire and water. Your exhale is, your inhale, I want to say, is fire and air. I'm going off the cuff, y'all, so y'all know because the elements are different. But inhale is 2 elements, exhale is the other 2 elements, right? This is why meditation is important. So now when they tell you, meditate on the word day and night. What is the word? The word is Yahweh, Yahovah. The word is the 4 elements. The word is your inhale and your exhale. You're breathing down into your diaphragm. Now, as you breathe down into your diaphragm, you expand and you trigger your vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve that runs from your brain, and stimulate what? Your Kundalini energy again. I'm telling y'all, I am a monster with this shit. I have understanding that a lot of people don't have because I was given this understanding. Because this is what it's like to have Mashiach energy. There's nothing you can't see. So when you hear me, I got a shirt that I just made on my well, I ain't just make it, but it's on my clothing shit, my clothing line where it's, clear all that shit, clairaudient, clairsentient, all of them. Masiach energy takes you there. You feel what I'm saying? They manipulated this shit so good that you can't understand it because your belief in it tweaks so much. Because when you tell somebody something that the Bible or the Quran says, they'll tell you an alternate to it to justify their bullshit. Well, you're taking that out of context. It can be taken out of context for a reason because it's about faith and fear. The context evokes either one of those. You see what I'm saying? We're in a space where now everybody's fear has reached the point where it's like we're in the last days of the last days. Are we? So then you got to understand when you actually look at the book, it's just one day for man. One day for God is 1,000 years for man. So even if we're in the last days, let's say we got 7 days, it's a week. Nigga, it's 1,000 years left for the shit. If this is really the last days, and let's say the last days are really, we're going to limit it to only 3 days. That's 3,000 years, bro. You're never going to come out of this. If every generation is in the last days, that means, according to the text, you feel me? This is why I tell people when they talk about how old the earth is being a couple million years ago, the Bible only puts the fucking earth at 15,000 years. Nigga. How? Because look, how long did it take him to create the earth, create everything? 7 days. Well, 6 days on the 7th day he rests. That's 7,000 years, no? Which means Adam was born on the 6,000th year, not the 7th, because he chilled on the 7,000. So Adam then was born in the 6,000 years. So that means that entire time he was resting, that day he was resting, Adam and them were alive, right? Which means and then from Adam, I think you get Noah after 2,000 years. After 2,000 years from Noah, you get David. After 2,000 years from David, you get Jesus. 2,000 years from Jesus, you're now. Think about it. It don't make sense, do it. It don't make sense, do it. Because what does that put the earth at? About 13 to 15,000 years, 20 no more. There's pyramids older than that. There's pyramids older than that. Documented pyramids older than that shit, right? So when they tell you, oh, we're the 12 tribes of Israel, no, we not. We can't be, nigga. We're older than that. Come on, bro. Be smart. We're older than the conceptualization of the 12 tribes of Israel. I did my dramatic pause for a reason. Because this is what the belief is. So when you look at certain artists being pushed, when you look at certain narratives being pushed, like we know we can keep you'll keep us bound. You'll keep them bound. I was just listening to this shit and it was like, they said, Wale is up there with the Coles, the Kendricks, and the Drakes. But why is it that Wale isn't mentioned with the Coles, the Kendricks, and the Drakes? Look at their belief system. Look at the beliefs that they infuse within their music. Wale has been quoted talking about Allah. Yahweh, he's been quoted talking about Yeshua or Jehovah. He's been quoted talking about Yemaya. He's been quoted talking about Yoruba deities. Wale is tapped in. So they leave him out of it. What does Kendrick quote? Oh, we're the Israelites. Drake is Jewish. J. Cole is he believes in God, but he's more agnostic than anything. You three can keep this in a state of belief. Wale open motherfuckers up. He's different. It's a little bit different because now when you realize, the Africoid genetics and Africoid spirituality, it's just a matter of time before the reality breaks through. So the Masiach energy is an energy that is housed within us all. I watched an entire conscious community talk about Christ consciousness for the longest, and nobody ascended to Christ consciousness. All of these people that I thought, like, once the pandemic hit, niggas, everybody that was doing tarot, it's like, oh, I had to realize that I was dealing with demons. I was like, what? How did you, what did you do? Like, what were you doing? It's because when you try to step into this level, when you study chakras, I mentioned this and I definitely said this. Dude, you cannot open the chakras out of order. Everybody wants to go to the crown chakra, but don't want to go to the root. You will see some fucked up shit. I literally break down how to open up all of your chakras in a synchronistic way, the right way, going through the tree of life and everything in the So Frail III book. The reason why I do that is because I understand what's on this side. But when you reach the level of absoluteness, the devils and demons, the gods, and all of that other shit, they starts to disappear. When you still operate from the belief level of the mind and you try to access Christ consciousness, that's what fucks you up. Because you have not reached the understanding of absoluteness. So this is why when I tell you I can get messages from anything, good shit, bad shit, ugly shit, beautiful shit, it doesn't matter because it's absolute. It's relative. And I can see anything now. You feel what I'm saying? This is what J. Edgar Hoover feared. And I watched so many of I studied our history so well. I studied their history so well that I watched each one of our messiahs in detail. And the excitement of the energy that it brings you, even if you look at Jesus, even if you look at Muhammad, what was the number one thing that they did? They talked too much. They talked too much before the mission was completed. That's it. Which made them a martyr when it was all said and done. You feel me? I look at the Messiahs that were quiet and put the gems out every now and again. But even then, the missing component was you showed your face too much before it all came out. I've learned just from my own perspective on how I had to exhibit my Messiah energy to give it back to the world and to shift the cultures in the world. Like when I look at even if you don't know who I am, even if you have not been around me for too long and you don't truly understand the full scope of everything that I've done over the years, right? You can see the shit that I expose you to, you don't unsee it anymore. There's been several situations where I have spoken on some words or some shit, and then somebody was like, I can't stop seeing this shit now, because you see it. It's been around you this whole time. It's almost like when you buy a new car and then suddenly you see your car everywhere. No, those cars have been everywhere. You just didn't give a fuck about seeing them because you had no reason to see them because you didn't have one. Now that you have one, you see your car everywhere. It's no different. That's what it is. You feel me? And as I've learned to use my energy, I realize like you cannot show who you are. When you're in that belief level of the mind, you get excited because now this is new information. This is an antithesis. When you reach the knowledge level, you want to drop it and you want to give it. It's not until you reach the level of experience that you realize what you really have to do with it. Most of our people who have started to break through the consciousness, they stop at the knowledge level, which means they never really access the willpower. They stop at the knowledge level. And in stopping at the knowledge level, it's like, okay, I have enough. But they haven't reached understanding. They're just knowledgeable. And when you're knowledgeable, you still have more than what somebody believes in. So because you have more than what somebody believes in, you can stop there. But then your experience has changed because you're not applying it. But then once you reach that level of understanding, now you realize what you have to do with what you have. I've created a system in which I'm able to simultaneously teach you this shit, give you something that helps you unplug, and give you something that you will never have to need me again. That is how Masiach energy is supposed to work. It's supposed to elevate you to the absolute point of self-sufficiency. Because ultimately, the number one rule of nature is self-preservation. Can you preserve yourself? If I have not done what I was supposed to do, J. Edgar Hoover fears the rise of a black messiah. The rise of the black messiah is the person who can efficiently elevate you to the point of understanding to access the willpower of your soul, to be able to deify yourself in self-preserving who you are. I have shown people how the body works nutritionally on how to put the right things in their body. I have shown people how to move through the levels of the mind in order to achieve and reach the levels of Masiach energy. I have shown people how to literally pull money out of thin air to survive in this world without having to be plugged into the matrix. Yes, it's going to take you some time to get to the point to build up your little nest egg or whatever the case may be, but you have a resource and a skill set for life that you can teach your kids. They'll never have to work for anybody again. It's Masiach energy. It was never about saving you, but showing you how to elevate and ascend yourself to be able to save yourself from them. The state of belief, you don't even understand that if the first rule of nature is self-preservation, when you're at the belief level of the mind, you're relying on somebody else to preserve you. Think about that. You know how many people got the vaccine because their doctor told them to? They relied on their doctor for self-preservation, and their doctors didn't know what the fuck was going on. Now these doctors got them vaccinated. These people are not humans anymore. You want to know the real reason why a lot of people started dropping once the vaccine shit started happening? When the vaccines were being taken and shit like that, your body was changing and it couldn't adapt. Population control has happened. We were able to see the population control that they wanted to happen. They killed us all. And when I say they killed us all, I know I didn't get vaccinated, no shit like that, but it's like, I don't even want to procreate anymore. Because after this generation, you're not going to know who's vaccinated or not. It's literally the next generation of people are going to be humans having babies with people that ain't humans anymore. Even if I manage to find a woman who doesn't have the vaccine, who was not vaccinated, when our kids are born, when they find dates and they start dating with people, we got to screen, did your parents get vaccinated? You can't fuck with him, baby girl. You can't fuck with him, little homie. You can't fuck with her, little homie. Like, you cannot fuck with them because their parents were vaccinated. They're not human anymore. Can you really stop that shit? No. Your kids ain't gonna tell you they fucking. They're not gonna tell you when they losing their virginity. They're not gonna tell you this shit. It's different. Shit's already in motion. They feared the rise of a black messiah so much that this is what they did to the world. Sit with that. You know why? Because we are in the Aquarian age. The black messiah was going to resurrect within the Aquarian age anyway. It's even Bible prophecy. When Jesus is asked just before the Last Supper, he says, you're going to follow the man with the gourd into the next house. That is the sign of Aquarius. We are in the Aquarian age, which is the age of knowledge, which is a masculine energy, which means that we are now in the state of thought, state of knowing. And it's masculine energy. The masculine principle was going to revive itself anyway. And it did. It's here. It's now. It's the mental, spiritual, and physical embodiment of the essence of analysis and deconstruction. You feel what I'm saying? Masiach energy is all through us. It is all within us. You gotta think about this. The Bible, even the Quran, they both tell you that you're creating the image and likeness of a deity, right? But then that deity then tells you to follow the image and likeness of the anointed one, which is either Muhammad if you're in the Quran, or Jesus if you're in the Bible. The image and likeness, walk in that. Walk in your deification, motherfucker. But you're following people that tell you that your deification is not possible. And you're not sitting with the information long enough to develop it. This is why Kanye West is so dangerous. Because he doesn't sit with the shit long enough. Because he keeps flip-flopping. So, it's because he's a Gemini. No, it's because he's simply not sitting with his Masiach energy to develop it right. You feel me? It requires solitude. You got to go into the archives and sit with yourself. Calm the fuck down and learn this shit. Get yourself to the level of understanding to start to access your willpower. Acknowledge your spirit. Breathe. Meditate. Meditating on the word day and night. That is a powerful sentiment when you really understand all of this. There's so many more levels of layers that I'm gonna break down, but I'm saving those for season 9 because then I can start talking my shit. I got y'all caught up. From this point forward, if you're not here and you're not in the right space, it's not my fault. I'm gonna give you time to catch up. I'm gonna give you time to go back and listen to some of these other episodes and shit and get to where we are. Because going forward, this is gonna seem like some off the wall shit. But understand, my understanding is so on point that my Hasiak energy is gonna be able to give it to you where you're able to thoroughly understand everything. And the fear of J. Edgar Hoover's rise of a black messiah who can spark the nationalist movement is deeper than what he ever thought would happen. Because a messiah isn't an individual person, it's a state of consciousness. And now everybody has the keys to this state of consciousness. And these keys, they're going to crank this car, they're going to crank this vehicle, and this vehicle will not stop running. I promise you that. And don't forget to check out Cafe Clothing, formerly Just Scenes merch. Get all of your intricate designs crafted specifically for the melanated being to develop a positive imagery within self and to have a little bit of fun in the process. From the peace, love, knowledge, and freedom to the dead horses and water designs, all the styles are crafted for the imagery to make you feel as you're supposed to feel. Because as I always say, the best way to fit in is to stand out. And what better way to stand out than with your exclusive styles from Cafe Clothing. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end it there. That's the season finale. Masiach energy is not, the Messiah is not a person. No one's coming to save you. You have to save yourself by ascending to the energy that gives you the capacity to save who you are. You have a choice. You have the capacity to do this. All of this information, this final piece, Noirephobia, is in So Frail III. This chapter is in So Frail III broken down. The tree of life, doing the chakra, sexual energies, all of those things tie into this. These are all things that they wanted to keep under wraps. When they had that Jewish meeting where they started to control music and how they're going to move music and shit, they started, okay, we're going to push gangster rap so they can kill themselves off. We can kill the Messiah. If the Messiah comes through, we're going to make it so that the Messiah feels like I have to give my message through music. And then if he comes through music, we'll kill him. Because the Messiah isn't an individual person. It is the person who has that level of energy that can get you to do anything that they want you to do. They can evoke something out of you. So music is the greatest medium to do that. So what am I talking about? Oh, we're going to keep the conscious backpack rappers on it. Those rappers be garbage. Not in the sense that they whack rappers and shit. But most of the conscious quote unquote rappers and the backpack rappers, they still rap like the 80s. We take it back to the original hip hop. Got to with your feet, watch you una machine. Got it with your gene, with the una machine. Who's switching the flows? Who's the ones that are actually maneuvering the game differently? Those are the ones that they want to keep avoiding from the pocket. You feel me? I never forget how potent my lyricism was. I remember when I did the jam session to WAP. I bodied that shit and I made motherfuckers like, yo, bro, how did you cover that? How did you do that? It's Masiak, nigga. The fuck? I'm there. I am there. You feel what I'm saying? IG don't fuck with my jam sessions like that. I gotta put beats over it and shit. Like motherfuckers gotta hear a beat. It's like I was gonna do the poetic shit and motherfuckers don't fuck with that. Cause it ain't no drum. I'm gonna get back into the drums and shit and putting the basses over the shit and start doing the real raw jam sessions again. But I never wanted to because like I hate music. I hate the beats because they limit me. I reached a point where it's like I don't like to be bound and shit, but I guess I got to temporarily. But anywho, in those jam sessions and shit, I say some powerful shit to make you think. But it's to understand something that gets you to the point of your willpower being accessed. This is what they feared. And I saw what they feared and I said, you know what, I'm gonna be quiet about this shit. Let me get everything done. Everything done. Let me get so all my books written. Let me get all my courses created. Let me get everything done. So when I do get on my momentum and my momentum picks up, it's like it's too much momentum to stop. You can't stop me. You can't cancel what the fuck I've done. Because a lot of these people, I was proactive with this entire thing. If I get shut down, it's already out there. If they kill me, they liberate me. They liberate my people because it's like, oh, this person died because of this, that, and the third. And it's like, yo, now you gonna search my name. You search my name. You see all my shit. You see all my shit. You like, oh, this is what, yes, nigga. Now that this episode is out and the book is out, I can talk whatever shit I want to now. It's time for seen to be seen. And I will be seen. Not only that, I will be heard, I will be felt. I reached the point where my archive, I'm out of the archives. I'm about to be 33 years old, but I'm out of that pocket of where I was supposed to hide, where I was supposed to be concealed. All messiahs go through this shit. All messiahs have a deep, long-lasting point of a deep, long-lasting point of solitude that they're supposed to have when they face their significant trauma. You feel me? Some people don't get a chance to get it. Some people don't get a chance to actually sit within that moment. Luckily for me, I faced it so many times that it was faster to happen. By the time I was 25, when I decided, okay, I'm going to take it serious, y'all, and sit down and study and learn and explore myself, like the floodgates open because I was already open to the portal. Certain shit just saved me, like, and it wasn't even certain things saving me. It was like, yo, you stepped in. When you realize what a God is, it's the highest conceptualization of the mind. Then you understand the highest level of the mind is understanding. Then you understand that you accept and you reject things. Then you understand what Yahweh is. Then you understand what just the energy of it all. It's like it all circles back to you. It comes with a different level of responsibility and accountability. People who stuck on a belief level of the mind don't have to do that. So what they encounter, what makes it easy for the rise of the Messiah to not happen is that they make it so that you have to, you're dependent upon them for anything. I don't I don't depend on them for anything, and I don't fear death. There's nothing no one can do to me. You dig what I'm saying? In order for, like, hear me well, I played this game so well. In order for them to fuck up my livelihood, you know what they would have to do? They would literally have to stop the stock markets. Think about that. When we look at some of our previous messiahs, yeah, they can freeze my bank accounts and shit like that. But I've collaborated with people so well that I can say, hey, look, bro, I would do this for you. This is a different game. I would do this for you, but you got to fund certain shit for me. I can guarantee that you will hit these marks and you will make this particular money. I just need a percentage out of it because my shit is frozen. If they freeze my shit, they would have to literally stop all markets, not just stop markets. They would have to come out and shut the currency down of what money represents. I'm a whole different glitch in the algorithm, y'all. And I've taught it. I've given it to people. This is a different game that has been played that I don't think people understand what I've done. I'm talking my shit now. This is the outro, but I'm talking my shit now. This is the end of season 8. Y'all know season 8s are my challenge number. You feel what I'm saying? I'm talking my shit now. I'm talking big shit. As I watched the previous messiahs that preceded me, they can be canceled. They can have their finances stripped. They can do certain shit. Like, it's like, because when your account is frozen, how are you going to get your money? Because then it's going to start to get a point. It's like, oh, you're going to have to freeze the accounts of people. You can't because they're not doing anything. Now it's harassment. Now you fucking with people. I put this entire game in checkmate. I'm proud of myself for that. Like they have to either kill me. No funny shit. Like they literally either have to kill me or they have to just nullify all currencies and say we can't use currencies anymore. Because what I've provided with my people, what I've given my people the potential to use, come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. I did that shit. That's a different level of power. I don't think I've set with that until I'm saying this shit right now. Like I've broken everything. They can't keep us out of these financial institutions anymore. Now we can run them. And this is what I'm saying. Like, oh, well, stocks are like, no, I teach you stocks. I teach you Forex. I teach you crypto. I teach you how to read the markets. They have to shut the markets down. To beat me, they have to stop the markets to stop my people. Yes, all of my people aren't in this game. All of my people are not studying it. But the people who are learning the skill, they're good forever. The people that are in the iwi, the people that are in mastering the market, the people that are actually taking the time to learn this material, they're in this forever. For fucking ever. The only way that they can stop this shit, literally, my nigga, the only way that they can stop this shit is to say, you know what? We'll admit the money isn't real anymore. That stops the entire game. We'll admit the money isn't real anymore. We'll stop with the stocks and all of that shit because you guys are benefiting. It stops the entire game and the world has to shut down. They're not going to do that. They fuck up their money. They have too much money to fuck that up. I beat them. And I'm alive to see me win. Because again, when I study the messiahs and I see what they did, they could never stop the power structure. They were never able to fully stop the power structure because what the power structure was, it eliminated them from it. They didn't go in and learn what made them have power. See, I didn't just learn myself. I learned my enemy and it made me know myself a lot better. I knew how to beat him. I won. We won. We fucking won. Sit with this moment, guys, bruh, sis, all y'all. Sit with this moment. We won. I just need my people to get to the point of understanding and say, hey, let's get involved in this. That was my whole, like, when the pandemic started, so many people, I was like, yo, y'all get into mastering the market. EWE is coming. Get into mastering the market. EWE is coming. Everybody, oh, I don't want to do that shit. Now everybody has to go back to work. The wages ain't what it was. Like, we're pulling money out of thin air with the EWE. This is not a shameless plug. I don't even give a fuck about you joining it. I don't care. It's out there. I beat them. I beat them. The people that have oppressed my people, the people that have I beat them. I won. They can't stop anything I do. Because as I said, I have impacted so many motherfucking lives. I have taught so many motherfucking people. In order to stop this shit, you have to stop what I've done. You have to stop the markets. You have to stop the markets and keep my people away from it. And when my people finally realize how easy this game really is, and they all step into it, and we get into the collective, and all we doing is moving money in the markets, something that I've learned about the markets as an investor, as a trader, I put money into successful businesses. Basically, they're doing all of the hard work for me. They're doing all of the work for me. When I do Forex, this is entire countries and economies doing the work for me. When my people on a collective scale get to this point and understand this game, a lot of us are, because the mentality is on a state of belief. I can't do nothing with those people. There's a lot of people who got into it. It's like, oh, some of y'all are in the EWE and don't even participate. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to continue to do what I need to do for those who are doing it, and watch where we skate away to get to a point where I beat the game. This is the game that has been haunting our people for so long. They kept us out of the money and the finances and the resources. Cool. If you want to keep us away from the resources, we're going to flip our money and grow our money based off the resources you stealing. Since we can't get it back, you don't want us to have control over the resources? Cool. We'll let you do all of the hard labor now, and we'll capitalize off the resources that you're putting in the work for. Have your Nikes, have your iPhones, have all of these things. You're going to work for us now. Because now we're going to put the money into the motherfucking markets. It don't matter which market we put our money into, and we're going to grow it. Only way they'll stop that is if they shut the markets down. And they say we're going to set, they're too greedy to do that. That's the only way they have power in this world. Something that I've learned, I don't know if I told y'all this in the episode on melanin, but if you look at the melanated scale and then you look at the financial scope, it's in indirect correlation with each other. Those with the most melanin are on the opposite side of those with the most money. So I inverted the scale in my favor. Okay. Since you want to keep us out of that, we can't, y'all can't come into our space. But since you want to, because melanin is what it is. Melanin is what it is. But since y'all want to keep us out of your space, we'll let you have your space. But I'm going to make sure that you use your space to do what I need to do for my melanin. Check and checkmate. When people say, I don't believe in whatever, I'm like, I don't care what you think I believe or don't believe in. I fulfill my purpose in life. I'm not going to hell. If hell is real and I'm wrong with everything that I've said, I can't go. I fulfill my purpose. Either way, because I walked both sides and reached the absolute self. I channeled my Masiach energy the way that I was supposed to. And I created a circumstance and a situation potentially for my people. All they have to do is accept the potential and put the work in. I've created a world for my people to reclaim this motherfucker in 10 years. 10 years if they just put 6 months in to learn. In 10 years, we can take this entire world back with a snap of our fingers. We have billions of dollars worth of buying power. And we took that same buying power and we knew how to move it within the market. In 10 years, we'll control the world. I won. But I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Go kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. And your children are already open with the Masiach energy. It dies in them when we send them to the education system. It dies in them when we stop teaching them and educating them. Don't let your baby's Masiach energy go to the wayside and be closed back down to send them down to their basic root chakra carnal energy. Keep it open within them. Keep it open within yourself, and always, always, always know that it's something that they could tap into and thrive into and stay above the game. You feel what I'm saying? Your enemy. Know yourself through knowing your enemy. You know that the God of your enemy is your devil. You learn these, you understand these concepts and you apply them with your children will stay deified. They will stay in their Masiach energy. And then when they push the world forward, they can push the world fucking forward. But that's all I got for y'all. Go kiss your babies. Make sure y'all eat y'all vegetables. And I'm going to see y'all when season 9 comes back. Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. I'm out.